Hello, you're watching another episode of In Person with me, Lakshmi Baker. Today we're going to interview another inspiring personality who is close to my heart now. He has contributed so much in the teaching field, so much so he was recently awarded the Toko Guru Award. He's also a cancer survivor. Now that's a really inspiring story. And thirdly, last but not least, he has won the Toko Sukan award as well because he's contributed towards the achievements of so many athletes in such high levels, and that's why we're here in the Bukit Jalil Indoor Stadium. Without further ado, Mr. Jacob Matthews, thank you so much for agreeing to this interview. It's really nice to see you today.
Hello Lakshmi, thank you.
How are you feeling today?
Feeling okay.
Great.
Thank you. Praise God.
Praise God. Mr. Jacobs, you were born in 1943.
Correct.
You're a grand 70-year-old man, a charming one at that.
That's right.
You've been a teacher from year 1965 up to 1998. Now that's 33 years. And in these years, you've contributed so much in the field of education. You've won so many awards. Pingat Jasa Kebaktian, Darjah Kebesaran Sultan Salahuddin, Pingat Perkhidmatan Cemerlang, Pingat Khidmat, and then you even got the Surat Penghargaan from the Chief Police of Selangor. And so many more after that, and it ended up with Toko Guru Kebangsaan this year. Now, tell me a little bit more about this journey, and not many people can actually boast so many awards in one period of service in their chosen field. How did you do this?
Okay, thank you very much, Lakshmi. In the first place, when I finished my studies in Singapore, I studied in Singapore, and my dad was working in the estate. And it was difficult for me to further my studies to go overseas when many people were sending the children overseas to study as doctors and engineers. But my dad did not have the source to send me. So I said, as I was a sportsman in the school days, I felt that I should go into a profession where I can use my sports abilities to bring up sports. And that's how I got into teaching and took up teachers training and specialized in physical education. And also another part is art, which normally art and physical education doesn't go. But as far as I am concerned, I did well in both this field.
Right. So are you a Van Gogh, a closet Van Gogh? Can you really paint some amazing stuff? That kind of artist?
I have painted pictures. I enjoy painting sceneries. And I have done paintings of sceneries, and we have had a number of exhibitions while I was a teacher, art teacher. We had a number of exhibitions.
You have also mentored a lot of people in the course of your career. You know, when I went through your impressive resume, one of the people that caught my attention was the owner of Mydin.
Yeah, that's
you
right.
know, and you actually remember these people who went on to achieve these many levels in society. Now, can you tell me a little bit about Mr. Mydin and your involvement in mentoring him? How was it like? What was he like as a student?
Okay, it was in 1969 when I was teaching in Maktab Sultan Ismail Kota Baru, and that's where I was teaching sports, especially physical education and art. And Mydin, he is known as Amir Mydin, whereas his elder brother is Murad Ali Mydin.
Okay.
So Amir is the younger chap, and he was in Form 2 then when I was teaching art. And he was in our tennis club.
Right.
He was in the group of tennis players who joined the tennis club. You know? At that time, I still remember the father had a small shop in Kota Baru, half a shop. After school, the children are there in the shop selling toys from Thailand.
Right.
It was a small shop, but today it has grown to be a very big hypermarket, and you've got so many.
So that's how it started.
And it was Amir who has brought up the whole Mydin.
You must be very proud to see your students going on to achieve such great heights in their lives. What is in it for you? What is it that really satisfies you here when you take a child under your wings and you develop this person to become what they become? What is it that inspires you about this thing that you do?
Okay, when we teach, I mean in the early days when we were teaching and I was teaching, our main thought was to bring up the child to a state where one day he will say, "This was my teacher who taught me," and that is the reward that we get. And so these children whom I taught in Kelantan those days, And those days when we were teaching, we were using English as the main medium of instruction until 1972. And this was the group of students who were there. And finally, the joy that we have is when the child's grown up. And today, you see, after I think about 30 over years from then, many of them still keep in touch with me, and they are so happy to meet me in person, and we still keep in touch. And the joy, as far as I am as a teacher, is that they still remember me, and they still love the days of the school career that we were involved with them.
Right.
See?
You see, a lot of people, when they want to make a difference in a child's life, they've got these real huge, ambitious, intentions or dreams, But you've made such small contributions while you were a teacher. You have been involved in a contribution of a van to a sports team, and you were spearheading a cause which actually led to students having a room to actually have a bilik tayangan or a viewing room in the school. So you contribute in such small areas, and you've listed all these little contributions down. What is your input on that?
Because those days when I was in Kelantan, TV had just started.
Okay.
TV had just started. And cinemas, going to cinema was a great thing for many people. So I thought one of the thing was to start a cinema club in the school, and we joined together, got a projector from USIS Embassy, and then I remember I hired films from Kuala Lumpur to Kota Baru, paying $30 for transporting the film, and then we had our cinema club.
Right.
The children all joining as members, 20 cents a membership, and they all, once a week, we get to them to show films to them, and they enjoyed watching the films this early. And it was difficult for the children of those days to go to theatres to watch pictures and all that. And that was a great thing, and many of them. And then on the field of sports, as a former sportsman myself, I love sports, and I felt that sports and education, academic, goes together.
Hand in
It
hand.
is not academic is great and sports is no. It has to go hand in hand, and that's why I'm glad that our Deputy Prime Minister had made one murid, one child, one Sukan.
Right.
That is which is helping today, and hopefully that succeeds. And sports.
And you did get a pingat perkhidmatan cemerlang from the former Prime Minister Datuk Seri Abdullah Ahmad Badawi when he was Education Minister.
Yes,
then.
yes.
On that note, we're going to come back and we're going to chat with you more on how did the whole entry into the sports arena happen. Yes, you were an athlete in school, but we want to know how your involvement right up to the state level has happened right after this break.
Okay.
Hi, you're still with me, Lakshmi Baker on In Person, and we're still with Mr. Jacobs Matthew. And Mr. Jacob, how did this involvement in handball happen? You are the president of the Selangor Handball Association. You were a PE teacher,
right,
and you also taught arts. But the transition from a PE teacher to now being the president of the Selangor Handball Association, how did this transition happen?
Okay, what happened was through my years of teaching physical education, I produced a lot of sportsmen at national level. I had produced 2 badminton players who played for Malaysia Thomas Cup, and various other games, hockey, and the present captain of the Malaysian cricket team is also one of my students, Suhan Kumar. And handball, what happened was in 1976,
Right.
a videotape was brought to Malaysia by one lecturer in the University of Malaya, Mr. Lim Hock An. And he had given this tape to a friend of mine, Mr. Chia Hai Su, who is now 80 plus. It was given to him. He was the physical education supervisor in the department. Now, Mr. Chia brought this videotape to me. At that time, we did not have handball in Malaysia. So he brought the videotape to me and showed me this tape, and I said, I looked at it and I said, this is an interesting game and we can start in Malaysia.
Actually, honestly, I did not know much about handball. I was wondering, was it something like baseball? Because I enjoyed rounders in school.
Right, right.
Is it similar?
No, it is not.
It's not?
It's more like football, but
Okay.
played in a smaller area using hands.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
So what happened was, after Chia gave me this videotape, I went through. Then I started the game in the school, Methodist Secondary School in Banting in 1976. And that was the beginning of handball in Malaysia.
Right.
And I happen to be one of the pioneers of the game in the country.
Does that mean that you played the game as well?
Did
you have the opportunity
from watching that video, I learned the game to teach the students.
Right.
So I taught students, and it went on that way, and we formed the state association in 1979. See, from there we promoted this game to all the states through Mr. Chia, who was in the education ministry. So we conducted courses in all states on how to play this game, refereeing and all that. And presently, I am the Selangor handball president. At the same, I'm the Malaysian deputy president for Malaysian deputy president for handball. And we are very thankful to National Sports Council and Olympic Council of Malaysia, because they included handball in the 2011 SUKMA games. And this is our second SUKMA now we're having.
That's fantastic. Now, this led to you also winning, getting awarded the Toko Sukan award this year as well, not very long from today, about 2 months ago. What is your most poignant moment in your contribution in sports as a whole in Malaysia? Now, there's handball and a host of other sports as well that you've been involved in. If there's one moment you got to pick, what would it be?
Well, I was awarded the Toko Sukan of Selangor this year. In 2011, and this was by the Selangor Sports Council.
Right.
And 2011, I was also awarded Toko Sukan by the Selangor Ministry of Sports.
Right.
Also is given. And for me, getting this award, it is not something that I aimed for, because I enjoyed sports, and my main thing was in seeing as many people take up sports. And the greatest moment is that I'm today very grateful that I can sit back and see even the Selangor football coach Irfan Bhakti is also one of my students whom I taught in Kelantan. So likewise, if I just to say a few, our present minister Dato Mustafa Muhammad, he was a student of ours, mine, and he was one of my athletes. He was my high jumper and a walker.
Right.
The present Chief Justice of Malaysia, Tan Sri Arifin Zakaria, he was our 800-meter runner at that time.
Right.
And then I have a list of sports, as I said just now, Dato Amir Muhammad, Mydin, he was the tennis player.
Wow, a sportsman as well.
He played tennis
businessman,
by school, you know. Then we have Dato Robert Chiam, who is the CIMB second or third man CIMB at the moment. He was my cricket player also. Tan Sri Tunku Mahalil, the Proton chairman at one time, he was also my cricket player. And that's when in 65, when we started cricket, 64, 65, we started cricket in Kelantan, and Tunku Mahalil was there. And then we have the present SPRM, that is Anti-Corruption Agency's director, Dato Mustafa Ali. He is also one of my sportsmen. He was one of my students. So today, sitting back at this age, and the great part is I still keep my school magazines of those early years. It
is really impressive how you remember all their names and what they're doing today.
Yes.
You're very proud of your students.
And the thing is, few months ago, one group of students called me up. One of them had my contact, and we met up in Gloria Jeans in KL.
Right. Okay.
And I was so surprised. One of them is the owner of this Gloria Jeans, and the whole group of them, whom I taught in Kelantan in 1960s, you can imagine how they look now. Most of them are as old as me, all white hair. And I was trying to recollect one by one, what's your name, what's your name? And the sad part was when I went to one chap, hey, can I know what's your name? Because over the years they look different, you know.
He was offended.
And he said, sir, I am Zawawi, sir, but sir, I cannot forget you. I said, why? Because, sir, I was standing outside the classroom reading at the corridor or something. You came and whacked me at the back.
Oh, you do have a strict side to you. I can't imagine this soft-spoken man has a strict side. You actually went.
So what? Because those days discipline were number one for me.
Right, okay.
So what we do is, because he is supposed to be in class during class hours, and he's out of class. So I went there and tapped him and said, what are you doing outside? So when I was so sad that he remembered me for that incident. Yeah? But all of them were so happy to see me after so many years. Likewise, even till today, I have so many of my friends. And then there's one chap recently I met in the sports commissioner's office. I did not remember him, but he saw me. He said, sir, Mr. Jacob, you are my teacher in 1969. And just imagine, he's already a Haji, 54 years old, Haji Ali Anafia. He came to me and hugged me. hugged me, and
okay.
said, "Sir, tears rolled out of my eyes." Another occasion was the former Deputy Director General of Education, Dr. Norisa Bapu Hashim. When I went to the ministry, I saw her name up there, and she's having a very high post, and says, "This is one of my students." So I asked the officer, "Can I go up and see her?" Say, "Why?" He said, "She was my student." Then they brought me up there, and she was having a meeting with all the directors. When she was told there is a teacher from Kelantan, who is your old teacher, would like to see you, she stopped the whole thing and she came out.
Wow.
And she saw me, came and hugged me. And you imagine, that is the happiest moment.
That is the moment you know you've done your job well as a teacher.
And tears rolled out of my eyes at that time.
I can imagine. I can imagine what a beautiful moment that must have been for you. Now, Mr. Jacobs has gone through a lot of trials in his life, you know. If he was in much better health, he'd probably still be active in sports. So we're going to talk more about that because he's also a cancer survivor. Right after this break, we're going to find out more about his journey through cancer.
Thank you.
I'm still with this handsome and charming gentleman here, Mr. Jacobs. And when I left you just now, we were talking about how he survived cancer. And when this happened, when you did your surgery, what stage were you at, Mr. Jacobs?
Thank you, Lakshmi. Actually, at that stage, I was told by a professor, that I was in stage 3. And he told me that you will have to go through an operation, and if we remove the entire cancer cells that is in the leg, we can say you are 90% safe. But what happened was, after my operation, part of the cancer was still on my leg. And so Prof said, time will tell. That's what he told me.
How did you discover that you had cancer? Was it something what were the symptoms like?
First of all, I must thank God Almighty for the way I found out this cancer. I had no pain, I had nothing. It was just one day, it was hot weather and I slept on the floor.
Okay.
And it was during that time when I was lying down and turning around, I could feel some movement in my thigh. Next day, when I measured my thigh, I found that one thigh was 25 and the other one's 23.
What made you measure your thigh?
Because I felt something moving inside.
Okay.
So then I told my wife, give me a tape, and I just checked and found one thigh was bigger. And then when I mentioned this to my cousin, who's a surgeon in Australia, he told me, go and see a doctor, because he straight away realized there must be something. And that's how I went to see doctors, and doctors told me, no, you're a sportsman, therefore your right side muscles are bigger, then it's all right. But my cousin insisted I see a specialist.
Doctor said that.
A doctor said that. And then finally I saw a specialist, and that's when the specialist asked me to go for an MRI. And it is from the MRI I was asked to go to University Hospital, and that's where Prof. Sen Gupta, who saw me, and he's the one who told me. He gave me a great shock of my life that day when he told me. He didn't see any of my readings, any of my MRI photos, but he just said, Jacob, at this very moment you have cancer on your leg. So I told Prof, how can you tell me this without even seeing the pictures? And he said, then he gave me a bit of hope. He said, that's the worst thing that can happen to you, but I must do a biopsy for you. So he gave me a shock and he brought me back again.
It's a bit of a drama there.
But that was great. Then after that, I went through operations, and the night before, they told me that they will have to remove my leg.
So then, the biopsy gave the results that you had cancer. What were your thoughts at that point? It's something that most of us think happens to someone else and not to ourselves.
Yeah.
Your thoughts at that point when you found out you have cancer, and you probably, what did the doctor say?
The 2 weeks of waiting for my results of biopsy was real torture. And finally, when the results were given to me and saying positive, it's malignant cancer, it was like the end of the world for me, that I am going off from this world.
You believed you were going to basically
Yes, I
not
thought I am
survive
going
it.
off, you know. And I was just beginning to think, my children, I won't be able to see them, won't be able to see my wife and all my children coming up. It was a real thing. I went back home. I threw away a lot of my sports items, everything which I was so involved.
Sounds like you had decided that it's definitely the end for
it was like that, you know, because the thought of cancer.
Yeah.
So that's when many of my friends came to tell me, Jacob, don't worry, you'll be all right. Then I used to say, I was thinking in my heart, they don't have cancer, they come and tell me I'll be all right, you know. So that is why after all my treatment, even though doctor said it is a matter of time, I went through all the things. Then I said to myself, how can I involve myself to help cancer patients? And that's when I got the opportunity to join MAKNA, because my son started deducting monthly payment towards MAKNA.
Right. So when you joined MAKNA, you were not cleared of cancer yet at that time?
Not yet. I was going for my radiotherapy, and all that. No?
And also, I hear that you had to go and judge a particular competition in the Commonwealth Games just after your surgery, and you were in crutches.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
You see, I have been a sports official, a senior sports official in athletics in the country, and Malaysia was hosting the Commonwealth Games. And to me, that was the climax of my officiating will be at the Commonwealth Games.
Right.
But it was during that time I had this cancer operation, and I thought I will lose the opportunity. But I thank that I was given a chance to officiate, and I was seated. I came with my crutches, I sat, and was just doing the timekeeping for the 100 meters.
Wow. Well, you still went on. Now, it's amazing how you have become such a dedicated volunteer with MAKNA. Now, a lot of people do volunteering and after some time they stop. But you not only continued, but you've won the best volunteer awards given by MAKNA year after year. What is it that keeps you going about this? And did some spark, light up in you after this experience with cancer yourself?
Yes, experience is one thing, but the fact that I have gone through it, and at that particular moment I knew how I felt, and therefore knowing the feeling at that time, I wanted to really dedicate my life to touch the hearts of those people who had cancer. And I got this opportunity through MAKNA, and that's where I went on. My first opportunity was when MAKNA asked me to go to Cheras to look for a cancer patient,
right?
Because they had given contact there. And when I went there, just imagine looking for the house. Suddenly the neighbor says, "Uncle, what are you looking for?" I say, "I'm looking for this so and so." And they said, "Sorry, that person has already passed away." Because I helped reach late, because we did not have enough volunteers to go. But today we have many volunteers, and that was my first example of how I went to look forward to help somebody. But after that, I have touched many people.
Yeah, you mentioned a lot about the Almighty and that you've been blessed by the Almighty. So you definitely are a very God-fearing person. What is the greatest gift you think that the Almighty has bestowed upon you?
Of course, the greatest gift is He's given me a second lease of life.
Right.
And second lease of life, and furthermore, with all these awards that came out after all that, you see, all this is not thought of at all.
Okay.
But it is through His greatness that I have got all this, and what I'm doing is continuing to do things to do what I can do for Him, to uphold the name of God Almighty.
Right.
That's my thing.
Okay, I'm going to play a little game with you. I've got a list of about, it's a very long list here, 33 questions. You can't look at the questions, but you can pick a number. We're going to pick 3. Pick your first number and I'll read out the question.
Okay, 22.
22. Question number 22 is, what thought or message would you want to put in a fortune cookie?
Fortune cookie?
Yeah. When you crack it, there's a quote in it. What message would it be?
I would say I will put a message inside. Remember, you are in this world not for a long time. So please touch as many as possible during your journey back home.
Very nice. Okay, pick another number.
Let's say I took number 7.
Number 7 says, if they made a movie of your life, I love this question, what would it be about? If they made a movie about your life, and which actor would you want to play you?
If they made a movie of my life,
yes, what would the movie be about, and which actor would you
I
want?
think the best part of my movie will be to show my whole family, which is made up of
very Satu Malaysia family.
Satu
you have,
Malaysia
right?
family.
There's Chinese in there. There's
yes,
of course you,
and my
Indian
brother is married to a Malay.
Yeah.
And my son is married to an Iban.
Okay.
And one son is married to a Baba. And I've got one daughter married to an Indian, and also one more to a Malayali.
Okay.
So it's all mixed family. So how we live as a family together, and I always believe the family that prays together will always stay together. That
right.
is my decision.
Question number 3.
Question number. Okay.
What number?
Number 3.
Number 3, oh, okay. What is one goal you'd like to accomplish during your lifetime? My gosh, you've accomplished a lot. Is there any other that you want to achieve? If there is, share it with us.
Yes, my one goal will be, if the government can help cancer patients in a greater way in reducing the cost, or rather chemotherapy. You see, cancer, the words, I always say the 3 C's: cancer, chemo and cash. These are things that
Saves
really
a lot of cancer patients' lives.
really gives up hope in many cancer patients.
Yeah.
So if the government can really do to help cancer patients by reducing cost, that will be the best, I would like.
I surely do hope that your message reaches far and wide, and this actually is achieved for you, for all the good things that you've actually done in your lifetime, and more to come. Well, that's all for now for In Person this episode. It's been a pleasure talking to you, Mr. Jacob
Thank you.
Matthews. You truly have inspired me and inspired a lot of young people to
Thank
be
you,
volunteers
Lakshmi.
out there, to not only start something but to complete it if you want to be a volunteer. Thank you so much for being
Thank
with
you.
us. Stay tuned for another episode of In Person next week, where we're going to interview even more stimulating, stirring and very special individuals. See you next week. Bye.